Hello and welcome to another episode where Sarah and I, Nicole from the Archangels Collective, share our perspective, conversation, riff about branding, messaging, all things about personal brands. And today we're excited because we're going to talk about the elusive topic of perfect branding and how it's hurting your business. So let's get into it, Sarah. Why did we pick this topic? I'd love to tell the watchers like why we did it because we're what we're seeing out there in the wild.
Yeah, well, I think like many, one of the reasons we created this podcast and have it the way that we run it of just like talking is because we're noticing things out there. We're noticing things with our clients or the community members in our school community. And we're also just living and working
Mhm.
and walking through what we're noticing in branding, in the atmosphere of online coaches and healers and anybody who has offers online. And we're really seeing a huge shift. And so I thought it'd be fun to, both you and I were talking about different topics we could tackle. And we're like, okay, this one seems relevant, especially right now with everything going on. And it feels, for me, anyways, as I'm looking, I'm seeing so many different aspects come out and I'm noticing who I'm engaging with and following. And I'm
Mhm.
noticing my own shift of how I choose to show up in my own branding, my personal branding, my business branding. And so I was like, hey, if we're all moving through this, let's bring it to the table and have a conversation about it. So that would be why we're doing this. What about yourself? What
Exactly.
what what kind of tickled your fancy
Yeah.
about this topic?
Yeah, well, I love it because well, it kind of speaks to like my younger self because we're going to talk about how like trying to fit in and be on trend and all that. And I always go back to my high school self that was like, I just wanted to fit in. I just want to belong. I don't want to stand out and be the weirdo or like when I was always like we moved a lot, so I was also a new kid quite a few times in my life and so there's a sense of that safety that comes from
Mhm.
like sticking with the crowd, blending in, that we always see those posters where it's like, don't blend in. And it's like the one like red polka dot thing in the crowd. And I didn't want that, Sarah, for many years of my life. I was not the red polka dot in the crowd much to my own detriment of like trying too hard and not really being my authentic self. So I think my question to you is why do you think people are trying to be more on trend? How do you feel about being on trend? And are you seeing, since you're like resonating with certain accounts out there, are people trying to look more like authentically themselves right now?
Yeah, right now we have a cornucopia of everything out there, which is
Hmm.
interesting. Like you have the super unpolished, like really bare bones, and you're kind of like, what is going on behind the scenes there? And then you have like super production level. And what you say there is so poignant because the concept of belonging, that is a crux that is used in major marketing, right? Understanding that's where we touch on the archetypes, not to manipulate, but to truly speak and understand yourself and your brand. And what you see out there right now, I'm finding so much of what is being taught in normal social media content, I find is like find a hashtag that's trending and just show up. And it's like, okay, I can understand it, but at the same time, I'm seeing so much of the same, even the
Hmm.
like trying to look different looks the same almost now. And it reminds me, you
Hmm.
talk about your youth. I was like that, except that my belonging was like the dog chain wearing lumberjacket. Like I was like rebellious, but we still all look the same, really. Like you think of the punks, anything like that. And so I'm noticing there's definitely a more casual essence that most
Hmm.
people are doing. A lot of just straight talking, a lot of everyday clothing. People aren't dressing up as much,
Hmm.
which is really awesome. But yet I'm still finding where some people it just doesn't look right. It doesn't look like who they are. And that to me is the biggest thing is like where do we draw that line of saying, okay, I want to belong, I want to feel, I want to get those followers, I want to bring people into my offer, my thing. And yet I want to also do it in a way that is aligned to myself and who the clients are that we're trying to reach. And that's a
Hmm.
fine balance that I find right now actually almost harder for people because it is so open and it is so varied. And if you're not able to really connect to what's natural for you, it's still itchy. It's still hard to show up. It's still hard to speak what you have to say in a way that's going to resonate because there really is no right way right now when you look online. Everybody's so
No, it's
varied in
all the
how they are.
flavors of the Baskin Robbins scoops.
Exactly.
It
Some have
really is
sprinkles,
like,
some have chocolate sauce.
yeah. I mean, I saw a woman that someone came in my feed and she had a reel and she was a plus size woman and she was wearing a bikini and she was talking about how she went to the pool and she's like, "Look, I didn't shave my armpits. I've got like my, bikini not shaved, my legs aren't shaved." And guess what? No one at the pool was pointing at me like, accusing me of, not shaving, or no one cared. She goes, and maybe they were talking about me behind my back, but nothing happened. Nothing bad happened. I could just go to the pool and enjoy myself. And I love that there's people like that that can be fully themselves and not give an F about what people think. Because like internally was like, I would never be on camera in a bathing suit right now. Like for me, even to come on camera, like right now, I just have a lip stain on. I never would do that before, Sarah. Like, but I've gotten to the point where I'm like, well, do I want to look like polished and presentable and go through that effort, or do I just want to like show up and just do the thing? And nowadays, because of many reasons, I just want to show up and do the thing because I don't really give a F about the makeup anymore. So I think we are entering this really cool era of, yeah, there's the people that are super professional, they have the filters, or the, super AI stuff, and then the
Mm.
real raw and natural. And I'm here for it. I'm here for all of it.
I know, you bring up a good point, and that's not really the topic today, but I've
Yeah.
seen some crazy stuff with avatars lately, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's going to change the game too in how you're showing
Yeah.
up and who you're showing up as, honestly. So that'll be interesting.
Yes. But yeah, I feel like I'm okay with people that look really polished. Like if that's who you are, if like I have a friend and client and she's does not go on camera without makeup, full on hair, full like she would not because I encouraged her to do some like makeup tutorial videos for her brand and she's like, "Well, I have a problem being without makeup on camera." And I was like, "Oh." So think about it though. There are people that do those kind that have a brand where they like go from bare to fully made up and they're fine with it. But there's people that are like, no, I have to look polished, for my brand. And I get that because that's who they are. It's not
Hmm.
necessarily like some kind of fear they have. Maybe she does. I don't know. But there's some people that are always polished and that's just who they are. And so I like that people can stay true to that, whatever that is for you, because they may attract different types of people. They may attract the people that are very uber polished like her, or they may attract people that are like, "Oh, she's pretty and she's fun and I like what she has to say," and they don't care, one way or another what the makeup situation is. So
Yeah. And I
I
think you're
feel,
right. It
yeah,
depends on like who your audience is and what you're offering,
yeah.
right? Because I mean, if you're, let's say, legal services, you maybe don't want to show up in your pajamas. Um, because there's an expectation of professionalism. So I
Yeah.
think normally when we're talking, a lot of our people in our community and people that we speak to, we're assuming kind of like in the online coaching and healing and course creators is typically who we work with, branding and everything like that. So sometimes when we speak, we say that, but definitely it does play a part in how you're going to show up is to who the client is. But even at that, I mean, there's a great woman I love, and her content is so stunning. I was watching and I was like, wow, she has a beautiful house too. It's like everything's pristine and white and clean and put away. Isn't the Korean vegan amazing? She does amazing content. She's an old lawyer, but she's still very personable. Like it's still super professional. Like I don't know if she films her own content or has a crew, because I mean it's really well done. But yet her energy that comes through, which is what I
Yeah.
really consider the brand, like she'll do a makeup tutorial or she'll be like she'll do very basic things, is so authentic in how she shows up. You
Mhm.
really do get the sense. And again, that's a whole like, how do we actually know anymore? But from what I've seen, I really do get a sense that she's just very confident in herself and she
Mhm.
chooses how she's going to show up, and that has different faces on its journey
Mhm.
as well. There's different days
Mhm.
where it shows up. I think where, and when we talk about how the perfect branding is actually hurting people's business, is like knowing what the business is and who you're talking to. And again, what does perfect mean? Like
Yeah.
these words people use, you know, the authority, the this. I'm like, who's setting that boundary, that stage, that level? Like who gets to say, even with what's trending? I think I mentioned it in one
Mhm.
of the other episodes we did when I used to go to George Brown College and teach a class, and it was in design, and they were like, well, what's trending? I'm like, there are trends you can also start. Don't only look to fit into an existing box. Like trends start with somebody or with a concept and then gain popularity and become the norm. And by the time it's the norm, probably not what you necessarily want to follow anyways.
Yeah, yeah. I used to be very concerned with the polish and the presentation for sure. And I think to me, one reason if I was to look back and go why, is I did want to be taken seriously. I wanted to like, maybe there was some imposter syndrome there that, I was trying to cover up because it's like, well, if I look like I have the perfect brand, then people will take me seriously. And it's also like you look at other brands and you compare yourself, right, to
Mm-hmm.
them, or you want to aspire to be like those brands. And it's funny because we, having worked with you and other roles and stuff, we've seen it all. And we've seen those like so-called perfect brands, but what they really look like in the day-to-day life, and it's far from perfect, as many people probably know this, that, there's like a persona that you could put on. And
Mm-hmm.
that's cool too for like brands that want to have like their persona, but then in real life they're, in sweatpants or whatever. But I think that that's one of those where we were going to talk about trust and stuff, is like, do we trust those brands when we know that, like, say that person that you love to follow and she's like your vibe, if you know that she doesn't really live that way 24/7, are you okay with it? Do you trust her and what she's offering and talking about?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. When I have been enamored with a mentor or a guru and I see them as one way, and then you discover something on the end, that trust is broken.
Mm-hmm.
100% for me, because for me so often when we talk is live your message, live your legacy. Don't just talk about it. You got to walk the walk, right? And yet I can think of some, like I don't remember her name right now. There's a girl I follow. She does belly dancing. She's so cool and she's just so raw, and yet she shows all. So she'll show up sometimes and then she'll have like at the end, she'll do these, because people quite often are very not nice to her on the comments. And she does these cool at the ends where she's gone to like these events and wow. So she actually shares all of it. She's like, this is me today. Like, yes, I can be like that. I choose not to. So I see the whole gamut of who this person is in all their different aspects. The core message remains the same. Her everything she's sharing stays, but she shows all aspects. So for me, I see her not as one kind of way of being, and it feels anyways more authentic, and so the trust
Mm-hmm.
is greater for me in that situation versus the heartbreaks of following somebody, let's say in the spiritual community, and then finding out something totally opposite about them after and being devastated by it and being like, so it's all BS,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that's
Yeah.
actually personally devastating when you give your trust and follow someone like that and discover that they're really
They
just
don't walk the talk.
manipulating. Yeah, they're
Mm-hmm.
manipulating to put that, like as it's that, I agree with you, to have a character or an ideal that you want to work with. I mean, that's part of the archetype, right? Is how are you? So if you've
Mm-hmm.
discovered that you're more like the rebellious part, or you're more the visionary, and you're like, okay, this is what that's looking like because you're aspiring, right? Like we still will be growing through these things. We're not necessarily at that stage yet, but we're like you said before, aspiring to be and living and saying, okay, I'm gonna walk through it, I'm gonna speak it, and I'm gonna test myself and push myself. Then that's cool. But to put it out because you think it's a marketing hack and you're going to gain sales and you're not
Yeah.
actually like that at all, to
Yeah.
me that breaks everything. It's like I would much
Yeah.
rather you be unpolished and honest about who what you do and how you do it than just go on the circuit and be like, this is who I am. What about yourself?
Yeah, again, like I nowadays I have a different perspective and I think I'm no longer about blending in. I'm definitely about standing out. And but sometimes there's like a confusion of like, well, how do I stand out as me and have it be standout? Because like right now I think, well, there's nothing really like standoutish about my like beingness, but it's like the personality. Like people would have to see me talk and have conversations like we're having now to really like understand who I am. So through just visuals, I think that's the thing where people get tripped up. And believe me, I like a good AI photo of myself because I don't love doing photo shoots or anything. And it's not my vibe anymore to like go and on the, where we are right now, there's tons of Instagram worthy backdrops, but I don't, I see the people and what it takes to go do it, Sarah, like set up their tripod and wear all the thing and have the makeup, but it's 90 degrees outside. I don't want to do that. So with AI and being able to like use your likeness and put yourself in different scenes, that's fun and creative for me. So that's where I kind of like let the authenticity blur a little bit because I'm okay with the still photos of me being not the real photo, but I do care about being myself when we're having these conversations or if I do a reel or any or what I write and that being the true representation of who I am.
It's funny. I giggle sometimes because people are like, real. I love real photos, and I've been moving more towards them. But I'm like, especially my dog just went through surgery. I've been kind of homebound. I'm like, you're basically going to see me in my living room or in my office every day. I'm like, that's not very exciting.
And we're very visual people, and
100%.
I say that, and then I think of people that don't have sight or vision, and I'm like, ooh, that's like very insensitive, Nicole. So I'm just saying that for people that are visually impaired, I'm sorry, but for people that do look and get stimulated or have emotions with their sight, it is how we're attracted to people and things and when we go shopping, right? So it is important that there's something that captures someone's attention. But what's cool though is you could do that in various ways. It doesn't have to be necessarily through the whole like super polished, super perfect way. You can capture people's attentions through an aesthetic experience that doesn't mean it has to be like uber polished and perfect. And that's what we try to, help people with, especially in the Archangels Collective. Little side promo opportunity here. In the collective, we do really work with women that are, I feel, a true version of themselves and how they
Mhm.
show up in our community and how they present themselves online. I just love seeing people in our community totally embrace themselves and their uniqueness and however that is and feel like comfortable like hey this is my code name and archetype mix and I'm going to express that in a way that feels good for me. And
And
I
it's fun seeing how different they are too, right? Because
yeah.
they get along so great and there's so much camaraderie. And yet at the same time, if you were to look at them, you can see how each one of them expresses themselves differently,
Hmm.
which is
Hmm.
really cool, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. You have very similar like drives and phases of life, and yet how they express that, which is really what your brand is. And then that's why I say, for me, it's almost a shame when someone thinks that they have to be other than who they are.
Yeah.
Again, if it's something you're aspiring to be, I'm not naysaying that. But to
Mhm.
actually just be like, okay, I mean, I'm gonna use the manosphere as an example. Like, I'm sure a lot of them are just like, I'm gonna get on there and I'm gonna be like this. And I mean, I don't want to say they are or they aren't on the back, but it's like it's a trend right now, and so people are jumping on it,
Yeah.
and like everything, it's like, and I think that's what the question I have is like, do you think this concept of like the trend or the polish
Mm.
actually is disconnecting people from each other, from brands? What
I think it's a good repeller, actually. So while I know we're always going to have trends, trends are just a part of
Yeah.
marketing and way of life and everything. I think it does a good job at attracting and repelling. So I'm like, hey, if that's what something you want to jump on and do a trend and be in that world, you're definitely going to repel people or attract people. And if like be cognizant, be aware of like who you're attracting or repelling and as long as you're okay with that. So, that's your choice. But
I like
I'm
that.
I'm usually one like when I look at trends in branding and visuals and all of that, like I admire what is like taking like I admire the art and what people are doing as far as like I'm not saying like the manosphere kind of people, but like visual aesthetics of trends. Like that's what I look at and appreciate. The content that you're talking more about like in that trend. Yeah, I'm not for that. Content trends, like you and I talked about before offline, like you gotta follow these trends that are, you're gonna get more views and likes. I can't be bothered. I just don't want to talk about things other people are talking about because everyone's talking about it. I don't understand how that sets you apart at all. I don't get that.
No, no, that's the funny thing is the more you try and mirror or copy what is, that's why I said by the time it's popular, you're not at the tip of the wave, right? You're just trying to like,
Yeah.
oh, I gotta catch up with everybody. It's like go the other, I mean, honestly, like listen, the perfect example. So before AI was everywhere, we jumped in on AI. I was like, "Oh, this is
Yeah.
cool." So it did it. The minute it started being everywhere, I was like, "Okay, I'm over it." And I went back to doing live videos and real images because I'm like, "Well, if everyone's zigging, I'm going to zag because I don't want to just,
Yeah.
be following for the fun of following." And I think if I'm 100% open with myself, the more I try and get in my head about like how am I supposed to show up, the less I want to connect and do anything because I get stuck in my head rather than just be like, I have something to share. I'm going to just jump on. Sometimes I have makeup on, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm well spoken, other times I'm rambling. But it gives me that freedom. And honestly, I think the showing up in spite of what you think you should do is actually what can create, and again I'm always, there's always two sides, which is tricky because
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
depends who you're talking to. So if I look at like some of the great gurus who are like selling the big programs, right? Again, if you're selling courses, let's say, there is something that there's a certain type who's going to be attracted to wanting it to be very like boom, boom, go,
Mm-hmm.
go. And that's where knowing your audience, which is part of what we talk about in the branding, it's not just you and your archetype, it's who are you speaking to. And then you want to create that nice bridge that allows that natural flow so that you're not having to pretend, and neither are they.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to be with someone who like learn from someone who's so stuffy or who has like contrary values and beliefs to me. I mean, it's like I wouldn't participate. I'd be like, okay, leave me alone. I'm just going to learn and take what I have and go out. But so I think there's great value in understanding that, again, if like you said, if you're naturally polished and you're used to it, and that's really the life you're living, then it makes sense you show up like that. But it's not an
Mm-hmm.
expectation anymore. There was a really big, I mean, even in corporate, right? We turned away from when I was young in corporate. I mean, the girls wore skirts and suits and jackets, and it was like, mind your T's and blah, blah, blah. And
Mm-hmm.
then we started seeing the more casual Friday look kind of crossover. And then there was
Mm-hmm.
like the vest with jeans. And so we've seen a progress or a progression in even the corporate world of being a little bit more relaxed because I think just in general, we're not made to be so bloody stuffy all the time. I really, it's just not a human attribute. I think that's natural, personally.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So,
Mm.
there's also content that, let's just say it's a little too authentic and raw. And that maybe that's someone's cup of tea, but I always look at like, how are they building trust? Because I'm very curious about why would someone follow someone that has like kind of inconsistent, not coherent, like they're kind of all over the place. It's a bit messy, right? So I'm always curious, like how those types of brands or contents, like, uh, are they just like humorous and entertaining for people, or are they actually building trust out there? Because would you buy a course from someone that seems like too super scattered and can't put like a couple sentences together and it feels a little like rough around the
Well, if they did
edges
a
more than
beta,
it
I
should?
might. You never know. Depends if I like them. But I
Yeah.
think what most people don't understand with that too, and as I said, in the last season, I never used to be online. I was always be the creator, don't be the consumer. Then when my dog got sick, I had way too much time on my hands, and I sadly became a consumer over creator. But all negatives have a positive. It was eye-opening. And I really did start to understand the difference between when you have, let's say, an influencer who's online just for clicks. They don't even necessarily
Mm-hmm.
have anything to sell. They are making their money through people watching their videos, people saving it, people
Mm-hmm.
sharing it. Like they have a whole page structure built on most of these media platforms. So that
Mm-hmm.
was really eye opening because I used to think more everybody either was just a human or they had something to offer at the end of it, like a course or a program or
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
nowadays exercise pills, whatever the hell. Everybody's selling something. So that was one big distinction. It's like, are they just showing up? Because then that's where those contrarians come in, right? Like, how do we shake
Mm-hmm.
it up? How do we pick a fight? How do we get, because the more activity, the more people are watching, the more they're sharing, the more money they're going to make. So that was really eye-opening to understand just how big that field is.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes then though to someone who does have a, and again, you've got to then look, then you've got the ads. Ads, obviously, they're going to be more, I'm going to say, put together because it's usually a
Mm-hmm.
visual or a tag, or it's not as much, although you can do talking videos now. So I think understanding who is speaking and what is the end game for them, because I mean, we talk a lot about it in our program, in coachings that we've done, is what, whether you're doing a website, whether you're doing a freebie, like what is that outcome of what you're showing up with? Is it to
Mm-hmm.
lead them to a conversation? Is it like a sales call or a conversation? Is it to lead them to sign up for, a newsletter? Is it, a Substack nowadays? Like what is the core reason for that? And so when we're looking at, and I think it's important that the audience understand, because if they're comparing themselves to people who are out there, because the influencers that are just getting money per click, they can be all over the board quite often
Mm-hmm.
because they're just trying to get clicks. Someone who does say does the makeup and then they're selling makeup at the end, they're going to be a little bit more, So that's why I'm saying understanding who you're watching,
Mm-hmm.
you can really start to see, because when you just go online, you've got everything and you're like, what's okay? What's normal? Where how do I fit into this? And when you start to say, okay, like I'm not an influencer. I don't sell, you know, makeup or supplements. We have our community. And so when I show up, it's how do we show up to show the space? How do we talk about, the
Mm-hmm.
branding of it? How do we talk about being authentic? And that really helped kind of separate the les tranches in French, we would say, like I'm trying to think of the word in English right now, but to understand how to show up. So if someone was outcome was to sell a course and they were like, you know, I don't know, telling me how to make $50,000 in 90 days. Not that I'd ever buy that course, but they were like in their hair up in the pajama and vomit or something. I probably would not at this stage. In the early
Yes.
days, I bought from a very strange group and I liked them just because I'm like, oh, if they can, and they were actually very successful. They were like the two comma club and stuff, and they were
Mm-hmm.
really like nothing fancy. And I was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you can do it this way. I didn't actually end up enjoying the program, but it was interesting to see. So there is a market for everybody, really. It's just who you're attracting and
Yeah.
are they the people you want?
And I think people also don't I have some understanding of the entertainment business. And when I see things like, things aren't always what they seem. And I
Hmm.
think that's the other thing that can be misleading for people online. For example, I just learned recently, and it kind of was like, oh, there's a brand, the School of Hard Knocks. Do you follow that guy who goes out and like interviews people that are really like successful? Like he'll go up to a guy who's in a Ferrari and go, hey man, like what did you do to make that kind of money to buy a Ferrari? But he interviews like celebrities and stuff. And it always looked like it was impromptu and like he's doing it. And I learned that it used to be that way, but now it's prepared. They've arranged for it. And that kind of bummed me out a little bit because it felt like the man on the street going around as the brand, to ask these like questions and really good conversations to like wealthy people because this guy was really interested. Like, what did you do to earn your money? Like, how did you become so successful? And when I learned now that it's more like staged and produced, I'm like, well, there you go. Like, not everything you see online is what you think it is. And now
100%.
that that guy has 9 million followers on Instagram, of course he's got like people wanting, hey, let's do this bit next week and scheduling and all that. But when you're just starting out, like he was, you can have that real authentic piece, but just know that I think part of his brand, though, he's staying consistent to make it look like he's the guy on the street interviewing people, but it's not that anymore. But the brand is staying consistent though to the people that maybe don't know. So I thought that was kind of an interesting look at like how when a brand becomes more successful and famous too, like how they change, right? Do
Hmm.
they all of a sudden look more polished or professional and their production value goes up? Because I've seen that too. And I'm like, well, yeah, maybe I would look more polished and professional if there was a team working for me and all of that. But I like when I see what it is. I don't really care if you have a team or not. I want it to feel like this is real, not staged.
Yeah.
For
I
me
like I
personally.
like them to be approachable is
Yeah,
my biggest thing.
exactly.
And I laugh that you say that, like side note, but when I worked in the textile industry, we had a big showroom and there was a local, they used to do renovation shows, really big name person. And they were filming at our place once, and it was like everybody came in prior, picked all the samples up, put them on the side, and then how many times they refilmed walking in the hello moment. It destroyed my vision of those shows. I stopped watching them because I was like, wow, it's so laid out and set up. There was
Mm-hmm.
nothing, not a moment was left to natural. And again, like you said, it depends on what level. Once they get to that, it's kind of sad because, and I think we see it over and over again. They start with this core desire and
Mm-hmm.
real purpose. And then it starts working. And then it becomes that scarcity mindset of like, oh, I have to keep it. I have to keep it. I got to get more. I got to get more. I got to. And that's when it starts like, okay, well, we can't leave it to happenstance anymore. We have to formulate it and create it. And it does and it makes sense. Again, it's not that I think it's wrong. It's how the world works. And
Yeah.
yet it is kind of sad, but it does always open up that next level of new people
Yeah,
coming in to
exactly.
that start again because I went the other way. I started with the really high people and paid lots of money and learned from, and then I was so disappointed how inauthentic it was. And then when
Mm-hmm.
I turned and I started going for the smaller creators because I was like, yeah, I just jive more with them. It seems
Mm-hmm.
more real. I want to be learning from someone who is actually living what they're saying, but that is also, I could actually speak with them if I wanted to,
Hmm.
not, these giant teams. So again, it goes back a lot to preference, I think, and there will always be a market for everybody, really. I was going to say, because talking about that, like, what do you think if I'm thinking of like a barrier to entry for people at our level of the people we
Yeah.
work with? What would be the advice you would give? Because most of them look at the people who are way up there. I don't know why we always insist on
Hmm.
choosing examples of people we want to be that are like 30 years, 10 years, 7 years ahead
Yeah.
of us.
Hmm.
And that can be a barrier. How do you look at it for that?
I would the newbies, I'd say like who are you and like how do you like when you're hanging out with your best friends, like what is that version of you? Because that's exactly how I think we want to make people feel like they're hanging out with a good friend. I mean, yeah, sure, we could be the mentor, right? But you still want to feel like you're approachable and that people are going to feel good around us. So if you can show up like you would show up with your group of friends and be that version of yourself, I think you're doing everything right. Yes, you can aspire to be an Amy Porterfield or a Marie Forleo, whoever that guru is or that brand is. You can aspire to that, like, if that's your thing, but know that it's okay to be the girl next door kind of brand and still get noticed because at the end of the day, it's not necessarily the polished, great fonts and color palette and visuals. It's like how you made people feel. That's really what matters the most.
I agree. I would say if I were to look at, let's say, someone starting out or who's, because most of our guys are, they've got the concept, they've kind of got this
Hmm.
offer structure,
Hmm.
they're the kind of girls. And I think cohesion, that's why we were so about branding, because you really do want to understand who you are and show up, because there is something to say, like, if you're all over the board, all over the place, one day this, one day
Yeah.
that, it causes more confusion. People may like your stuff, but will it build that stamina for them to actually, without ads? We'll have to do a thing on ads because I think that would be a fun one
Yeah.
to talk about. And like you said, the cohesive consistency and that approachability, right? Like that being
Hmm.
authentically who they are in how they speak. Like I make a lot of faces, and I don't hide that when I do a live video or whenever, because it's one, I don't think I could control it, but I also know it's so really who I am that I
Hmm.
don't want to stop that, because people will be like, what Sarah's thinking before she speaks it because it's written on her face. But that I think is a trait that people can kind of giggle at with me. Like it's a thing. So I'm very happy keeping it. I don't try and hide it.
Yeah.
Well,
You
unless
have
it's
your
for
tells.
nasty. Yeah, I definitely, my mother even said when she's like, well, boy, Sarah, you gotta be careful what your face says. But I don't want to quash those parts of who I am,
Hmm.
because it's a huge part of who I am. And I think we could have a whole show on, is there something, because a lot of our audience and a lot of the women we work with are in that like 40 plus zone of life, right? They've done the hard corporate, they've put their dreams on the shelf, they've like had everything done, and now they're like, okay, wait a second. I want to build what's mine. I want to bring that purpose, that passion, that mission to life. And there is something really powerful as we age and step into who we are a little bit more, because we've
Hmm.
had a lot of situations where we didn't allow that to happen. And I think this is a great opportunity for people to be like, okay, how can I bring that and mirror that even in my branding? Because it becomes okay and safe in our smaller groups, but how do we actually keep that continuous into the brand that we're building out there? I think would be my passion for people to understand that it's not about finding what works. It's about finding what works for you and being who you truly are in that, in a way that is aligned for long-term growth and success.
Hmm. Definitely. Well, this was a great conversation to engage about like I feel like yeah, we could talk about this forever, but I think we both have shared that, be you. Just Just be
Know who
you.
you are and be that
You
person.
know, because you are you. And that's, again, like, I know we could beat a dead horse with it, but like, you are unique as you are. So don't think you have to be something else if you don't want to be, so, yeah, all of that and above. But
All that and above.
again, visuals do matter in the sense of like cohesion and making sure they don't like confuse people. So we will talk about that in a later episode. We'll
Yeah, we
we'll
will
go
because
into
I'm
that.
thinking right now with vibe coding and everything, there's so much so fast with AI that
Mm-hmm.
people are seemingly to me paying less attention to a brand aesthetic. There's just like
Yeah,
smoosh of everything. It's like
yeah.
I'm
And
like,
now all
okay,
these like sales pages and apps people are building, they all look the same. I was like, oh, this just looks like something else I opened the other day. So
yeah.
we're losing like a personality there for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So even more, I find what we're doing and bringing to people, like
Yeah.
it's not like the hot topic, it's not AI, but personal branding. Because again, we've talked about it. It's so much more than just who you're showing up with in the social. That's kind of that facade. We don't want to promote, find a facade that works. It's like really dig into who you are naturally as you lead, and now let's express that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Awesome. I love it.
Yes.
I love it.
Love it. Well,
Okay, guys, we were wrapping up for today. As I said, we will link if you guys want to check out our school community where we really do. We like here, you'd be like this, but having it live with us, chatting back and forth. And we have lots of tools and just such a great place, even just for in a world where connection seems to be harder and harder sometimes. It's a great place to connect with women who are building right alongside you, shoulder to shoulder, and we're there for feedback, support, and all the things in between. So drop us a note, let us know what you thought of this episode. Again, we always invite you to drop if there's a topic you would love for us to chat on. We are into it. And otherwise, just keep building.
until next time.